Hey y'all, my name is Tamara Andress. I am your Fit and Faith podcast host, and I am pumped to be here. Just me, no words, no scripts, no intros, no outros. I love authenticity. I hope to breed vulnerability, and I usually do this alongside another dreamer, mover, shaker, entrepreneur, passionista is what I love to call them. If you're a dude, then a dude. But I am loving just coming together in community with other people to share their high and low stories, to share their journeys to come back, because I believe ultimately that's where God would have us. He would have us on the mountaintop. And even though we learn a ton in the pit and in the valley, God would want us right now, especially in this season of life, in this time of our culture, to shine. And so here I am. I want to teach you how to shine. I want to be alongside you when you get your glow. I want to catapult you into your calling, whatever that is. So this isn't a fitness podcast. This is not a religious banter, though we preach Jesus all day long. And this is not just about nutrition or health or wealth, though I like some green, and I know you do too. It's not okay for us to not be okay with talking about all of these things in unison. You guys, we don't just need a mental health podcast. We don't just need a fitness podcast. We don't just need a religious, spiritual podcast. It needs to blend. This is what Fit and Faith is all about. It's all about creating alignment, connectivity. It's about pursuing your wholeness and claiming it over your life and over the lives of the loved ones that you have around you in your community. So thank you for tuning in. I would love to get to know you more. You can like, review, subscribe, whatever it is. Send me an email, DM me. It's me. I have an amazing team alongside me, but you guys are getting me for now. So enjoy. I'm so pumped to have a coffee conversation with you, is what I'd love to call them. Don't have my coffee right now, but I have it in my system, as you can see. All the love. Let's do this together and keep going for your dreams, y'all. Episode 12 of the Fit and Faith podcast.
Interesting number.
Is it? Does it have relevance to you?
Well, it was my friend's basketball number.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
You just thought about it. I like it.
And
So
it's significant for the 12.
it is. Wow, good.
Yeah.
VV Strong, for those who are not from our community, I'm sure regardless, national television, Virginia Beach has gotten quite a bit of attention lately for lots of different reasons. But the tragedy that happened on Friday with the 12 who lost their lives innocently and unknowingly from somebody who was just mentally probably not there. Yeah. We talked about it a bit last night at the session, and just they're missing love. And I think there's so much that needs to be infiltrated into people. And I love that this podcast has taken the form that it has, because I think that those little bits of seeds that we're planting in people's hearts are what's gonna hopefully help restore, hopefully comfort. So wherever you are today, tuning in, I hope that this meets you in a place of peace and comfort and resiliency and strength, because we all need it.
Strength. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. So let me introduce to you today Hayley. I don't even know how to say your last name.
Perschau.
I've never said that out loud.
Yeah.
I've always wondered. It's beautiful.
Perschau. I still forget the S. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wait, how does this sound?
It's really beautiful. Hayley Perschau. And I've known her for 2 years, so the fact that I've never said her name out loud is kind of weird. But she has been a motivator to me above all things. She was somebody who actually has inspired Fit and Faith, and we can go into that story later. But the whole concept of how I'm here and what the title actually is and what it means was all birthed out of a brief nutritional assessment that she was giving me a little bit over a year and a half ago. And to see where it's come now, and now to have you here, I'm so excited to just have your wisdom kind of shed into the hearts and friends that follow along to this podcast, and then to the many more that hopefully join in later.
So fun to see you're doing it everywhere this is going.
It's pretty
touching
awesome.
a lot of people. It's awesome.
Thank you. Well, I know with the lots and lots of women, how many burn members are there?
Oh my God, we're almost 400 now, if not 400.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow. So Hayley was the head trainer at, I say was, that's a new title. I'm so sorry.
So weird.
As of literally 3 days ago.
I'm at peace with it.
Good. I'm so glad.
Yeah.
So she was our trainer, fearless leader, and just constant motivator, and just friend. I think a lot of times when people come into that environment, they're very vulnerable, even without realizing the vulnerability.
Right.
They're in a space of, I need more, I want more, I don't want to do more, I don't know what that looks like.
Right.
But I always watch you greet and just encourage, and it's in a subtle way. It's not loud, and I love that about you.
I just feel like I can relate to everybody who walks through that door. I mean, I am that middle-aged woman walking through the door, mom, wife, and I get just as nervous going into any new place, but especially as active as I am in the fitness community, when I walk into a new gym, I'm still nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But so I just have that
connection
when people come in. It's very hard to walk through the doors.
Yeah. Well, explain. I know you have had quite a transformation even in your own experience from starting with burn, but then even thereafter, like kind of give us a bit of an introduction on who you are, and we can start in the fitness realm, but I know that there's so much more to you than that.
Burn. Well, I was training individual clients just at their homes, and was just looking for that space that was going to be a fit for me. As the typical gym at that point in my life of the circuits and the thing, it just wasn't where I saw myself. And I went in and took a camp. We call it camp at Burn Boot Camp, and it's the way I train. I fell in love with it. Didn't realize it was all women until I started learning more about it, and that was just a very powerful thing that I didn't even know that I needed or wanted to be a part of, because I have no problem like training with the guys. That is not, I'm not intimidated by that. That's I kind of get fueled by that more than that competition. But I just was meant to be there.
Yeah, that's
and
so good.
About 2 months after I had worked out there for 30 days, an opportunity came up to be the support trainer, and then shortly thereafter to be the head trainer. And it's everything about it spoke to me, from the mission to the style of the workouts to just the no judgment. I mean, you get 30, 40 women in a space, and there's just no drama.
Yeah.
It's
so true.
That sounds great, but that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
And just genuine, authentic friendships that are built. And then you just see the transformations of people, mind and body.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've never was really one to draw towards going with women either.
Yeah.
And it was after really uncovering it in therapy, there was a lot of reasons why, and we can go into that too if we want, but that's not the point of this particular story. Is that in college, there was all the rave about getting into a sorority, and I always was like, no way, no how. That is so far from me. I'm a guy's girl. I want to hang out with the dudes. I can't even handle that drama. And so it was my sophomore year. I was an RA, and I got a girlfriend of mine. I did have girlfriends, just not in plethora that. Right. She was like, we really want you to be a part of our sorority. I'm like, well, I can't pledge. It was a gray out. My RA, as an RA, you weren't allowed. Okay. And I'm like, I can't do it. I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, we really want you to do it. We'll give you a snap bid. And I'm like, snap bid, what's that? And it was, you don't have to do any of the rush, any of the week-long intense stuff. Gosh. And you come in after, and we've snap bidded you that we want you regardless. Wow. And so I, proposed it to everyone from a hierarchical resident advisory thing. And they were like, well, you're not allowed to do it, but since you're going around and circumventing the rules, we'll let you try it from a time management perspective, and we'll see what happens. So
first time I walk into a room, 300 girls. And I was a gymnast, so I'm around, girls and that camaraderie, but it's an individual sport as much as it is a team sport. Yes. It's very, you deal with what you want to deal with. I walked in and these girls were just being girls, and I'm chatty, so I get it. But I just sat there and I felt like I was in this cyclone, like, holy moly, this is not okay. Yeah. So I kept with the girlfriend who invited me, and she's like, it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. It's so much fun. I loved the community service components of it. I loved that they all like knew somebody, and I felt really lost when I was in college. So it was definitely a grounding concept to have a home of community of women. Yeah. But 2 weeks later, I was like, nope, couldn't do it, couldn't handle it. So fast forward to Burn, which was 2 years ago. I mean, that was almost a 10-year difference of time when I walked in and I found out that it was an all-girls gym too. I was like, okay, where's the motivation going to come from? Because I could always find the guy and be like, oh, I can do that. Yeah. I can do that. But I was in a really vulnerable place in my life where I needed women. And just like you said, I didn't really know I needed them.
That was my discovery too.
And we need to have that community and that support and that understanding of if you have an off day or if you have a great day, or like to celebrate wins alongside women is so different than celebrating wins alongside men.
It really is. I was just, I did not realize that I was just how much I was lacking the connection to that group of women. Yeah. And I would see friends who've had, they're friends from high school, like this group of women who've just stuck together. And I've got my pockets of friends, but I've never had that like core group of friends that just kind of, you follow each other everywhere. Yeah. And I always kind of missed that. Mm-hmm. And therapy's helping me discover where. Why I don't have that. So I've got my why. Yeah. I know where that came from. Yeah. But to genuinely connect over the past 2 years on different levels with these women it's been life changing. Yeah. It was very hard to know that we were moving. Yeah. Like I said, I'm at peace with it now. I have plans. I know things that I need to work on, and so I'm excited.
That's amazing.
But not having that every day is going to be, I'm going to miss that.
Yeah, that comfort of just knowing when you get to the gym, somebody is going to be there, and it's
just
going to be
my own accountability. Yeah. Again, I mean, Burn you have such accountability to show up.
Well, it's interesting that is cultivated because it's not really something that's said. Like, in other gyms, they'll talk about having an accountability partner or like actually setting that into motion. It's never really that spoken of, but it happens innately because you're like, oh man, so and so's going to be there.
I've had so many women tell me that they have never stuck with something the way that a fitness routine way that they have with Burn. Yeah, there's that accountability.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then you mentioned that you loved the mission, and I don't know. I mean, I see lots of slogans on the wall. What's the mission, and how does it touch you?
I have to be able to recite it, and I'm not going to be able to, which is like shame on me. That's okay. But it talks about the empowerment of women.
Okay, amazing.
It talks about that empowerment.
That's incredible.
It's not just in the gym, but it's just that whole inside and out, that inner strength is the basic idea behind it.
Well, I know we've talked about and I'm sure there's lots of Burn sisters who are going to watch this and will be excited. So there's that what's next, that next step for you without that necessarily core, though we're always going to be there to have your back. And when you come home to visit, we'll be here. I know, and I saw kind of the transformation in how you even presented yourself as a trainer and how you took the body concepts and you really fed it into the mind and the heart. Yeah. And so what does that look like? What's your driving force behind that?
And for me, and I'm on this path with this as well, it's just that overall wholeness. Mm-hmm. You can be physically as strong as you want. Mm-hmm. I can go out and run the Spartan races and compete in different ways. And there's that mental toughness and that mental confidence that comes with it. I can't do those Spartan races if I don't believe that I can do it. Yeah, so good. There's that mind piece of it. And I tell women all the time as we're going to do chest press, and they're going to chest press like 2 10-pound dumbbells, and I'm like, your toddler weighs more than that, and you're like putting them up over your head. Like, it starts with that belief that you can do it, and it I know when somebody has the physical strength to do something.
Yeah.
And so I'm never going to push somebody to do something that I don't believe that they can do.
Right.
It's just getting them to believe it. So you've got to have that mind piece of it.
Yeah.
And then there's just that whole, and this is where, without speaking it, you know, you made a huge impact on my life. But there's some people, and in some ways maybe I do impact people in a spiritual way, but having that ability to just outwardly bring that into your daily conversations and in your training. You know, when I say train for something greater, read a great book by Wade Hodges, I believe his name was, Train for Something Greater.
Yeah.
And I will talk about that when we were training Memorial Weekend.
Yeah,
and
sure.
through the 30, you know, for the 31 was that dedication. Yeah. But just training for something more than just your physical workout, but an intention.
Yeah.
And waking up every day with an intention.
Yeah.
And I'd kind of, honestly, I had lost sight of that for myself. I felt kind of mentally strong in a lot of ways and physically strong, but there was something that has been kind of missing, and I sort of knew what it was, but I just didn't know how to get there, and that's going to be part of my next journey is wholeness.
Yeah.
Wholeness.
Yeah.
Fit in faith.
Yeah.
You know, and everything that means.
It's so true, and I love that. And I love it really, that whole concept really does speak to different people in different ways, because different words will pull on them, the fit component or the faith component. And I remember, so after our conversation that we had, and to be honest, I don't even remember exactly what it was.
I don't.
Like the conversation.
I remember leaving being, I really like her.
Yeah.
Like it was just this very just organic conversation. Yeah. Like-minded in a lot of ways, and I don't even know. Yeah,
I do remember we talked about motherhood and like what it was like transitioning and like not knowing who we were.
Yes.
And that was like one thing that stuck with me, and where we were in this struggle of identity. And that was what kind of started to transform as we came into the gym. It was our space to just be us. Yes. And to kind of leave that hat at the door, though sometimes they come into the child care.
Right.
But and to pick up, okay, what's your intention? It's kind of like what you said. What is it for you? What are you coming here for? It's kind of like yoga, which I just did for the first time in years at Burn on Sunday.
Did you go? Good.
From Brett. Brett had just said some awesome things on Saturday after my workout. And it wasn't to me specifically, it was to the general body. And I was like, man, I need to take that time for myself. And so I went, it was incredible. And the whole day, meditation was kind of the theme of the day. Yes. I had no plan on it being that way, but the podcast I listened to did it. Yeah. And then my sermon later with the session ended up coming into that. And I was just like, God is so good. He knows what we need before we even know we need it. He knew we needed women before we comprehended that we needed women. Right. He knew I needed this conversation to be a trigger for something he already ingrained in me, because less than 7 days later, I had every chapter title written, and I had 165 pages written of my book.
Wow.
And I was like just in such gratitude, and I was in gratitude to our conversation specifically, because it's weird how sometimes it's just that one thing. And if we're more present, there's a lot more things. Yes.
That's my word. Present, connection, authenticity. Those are some of the words that I'm using as I kind of go through this transition for myself.
Good.
But presence has been huge. And it's funny you talk about meditation, because that is something that I've always said I'm not good at it. I don't know how to do it, you know. So I just don't. But in therapy.
I love therapy.
Just gonna be really honest. I've never been before.
Yeah.
I've never gone before.
Wow. When did you start?
5 weeks ago.
Wow. What do you think?
I love therapy.
It's amazing.
I mean, I'm not gonna go forever.
Yeah.
But you know, I just needed some guidance for when we get through the move. Leaving Burn was scary.
Yeah.
Very scary for me. It came at a time when I needed that fulfillment, that affirmation. That's something that you're good at.
Yeah.
Something that I can make a difference in.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be gone. And so what happens when I'm in Stafford with me, myself, and I,
Yeah.
my kids go off to school, Adam's off at work, and I don't want to just jump into something. So how do I learn to be present and be happy and fulfilled with just being, with just me, without external reinforcements? You know, so anyway, so that's where the therapy came in, is just to get those tools.
Did she give you some like what's been probably your biggest, I'm sure there's a bajillion things, but
journaling. And
that
so she asked me if I would send her, if I mind sharing my first journal entry with her. So I sent it to her, and I did. And I walked into the next session, and she's like, "Do you mind? Are you open to starting our session with meditation?" And I was like, "I'm very open to that." She's like, "I think you need that meditation. Learn how to be still. Learn how to be still." So I downloaded this app that I've been using now that just helps guide me because I don't know how to do it. And so the guided meditation, so 3, 5, 10 minutes a day, whatever I have time for, I'll walk Patrick to school and I'll turn it on. And just learning how to be present.
It's so hard. And I absolutely went through, like, probably it was a year and a half when I had stripped back from my roles as a CEO in a couple different companies. I only was mom at that point. And though motherhood doesn't really allow you to quote unquote be still, I had to learn to be still in every other facet of my life and not have the achievement, not have the attention, not have the accolades, not have other people's affirmation or confirmation or any of those other things. And to comprehend your solitude and solidarity is one of the biggest life lessons that I've probably learned.
I'm really excited to get there. I can see it now.
I'm excited for
I couldn't see it before. Which is why I knew I had to ask for help because I couldn't see it. And I couldn't listen. I didn't know how to listen anymore. It was like I just was kind of drowning in this, like, leaving burn and just that being really sad about it. But now I don't know, I'm excited. I feel more present.
That's amazing.
Feel happy. There's no searching for happiness or well, when this happens, I'll be happy again. You know? Happiness is only in the presence. If you can't be on this search for it.
That's so interesting. I love that because, you know, there are things in the past that can bring happiness in reflection, and there are things that we hope for in the future that will bring happiness. But
the
you
happiness
really
you experience is now.
That's so true. That is really good. That's really good reflection. I love it. That's really good.
I heard it and it was like, just wow.
You're right.
Yeah, you can only be happy right now.
And it, you know,
and to your point, bring in the past. Think about memories. Get excited about things in the future. But your feeling of that happiness is right now.
Right now. That's so interesting. And that is, I kept hearing as we were having this conversation, is like, be still and know that I am God. And it takes stillness to really comprehend the magnitude of joy, which is the deeper component of happiness that we all have access to. And yet I think it's a hard thing. Society tells us to do the exact opposite at every given moment. And so comprehending that we have control over our own lives and our own being and our own happiness, that other people don't control it, other scenarios don't control it, titles don't control it, that it's innate within us already.
Now it's just putting it into practice, knowing it, believing it,
just like you said, that
my
mind
mom talks
component.
about, like, knowing it. She goes, I don't need to believe. She goes, I know it. And I'm like, that's a powerful.
It is.
That's a powerful thing when your belief just becomes like, I know.
I know that I know.
I know that I know. I don't just believe it. I know it.
I want to be that. I want to get to that space because I think belief and faith, and I interacted with somebody who came new to the session last night, and I said, so what did you think afterwards? And it's an intimate group, so there's like maybe like 7 families represented, maybe 10 families represented, with those who are single and they're without their kiddos or without kids in general. And she said, well, I feel like I got in a little deep and a bit over my head. And I said, really? What makes you feel that way? And she's like, well, I I feel like you guys like really are a lot deeper and know a lot and come from a lot more than I do. And I said, interesting that you would say that. And I said, because I'm fairly new to my faith as of 3 years ago. I've known God, but I've never known to know God. Right. And that person just got baptized recently. That person just came to their faith. That person's brand new to their faith. I said, the difference in what you're feeling here is a hunger to know God.
Right.
It's different than a church that we're checking a box. And not to say that every person that goes to church is just checking a box, right. But in that magnitude of people coming in with their happy faces on, and we're here for church and they're wearing their pretty Sunday best. This is a place of comfort and pajamas and crying and happiness and family and rest. And we allow people to be still, and it gives you just such a time of reflection. So she immediately was like, really? Yeah. And like, you could tell she just had this sense of relief that she wasn't this like oddball in the room. And I think it's so important, just like the girl who walks into Burn, who's like,
I keep thinking about that.
You
as you're
share.
Talking. Yeah, but as you're talking, I'm just like, the people who walk in, like, I don't think I can handle this. I can't hang. Or they're looking at the beast, the one who's been there for 2 years or whatever it is. We only ever see like who we perceive to be the strongest, the most beautiful, the whatever. We don't ever see the flaws, or the one who's modifying, or the one who's so on this biggest weight loss journey, or the one who might be the beast physically but is like lacking in other ways, So we always say, Burn, everything we do can be modified. And I'm probably the same with like the session. You may not take it all in at once. You're going to take the piece that you're ready for, and then you're slowly going to build on the relationship and what are the questions you ask, and how still you can be.
Right. And that same thing from a non-spiritual perspective that leads into that, though, is the mindset too. I mean, you see that with the body, but modification of mindset is everything. So just 5 weeks ago, your mindset towards this move was massively different than the mindset that you have now. Completely. And sometimes it does take help. It takes somebody like sitting you down across from the couch, across from the coffee, and just saying like, you can do this. The tools exist, and you already have it within you. Right. It's that switch of perception, that switch of mentality. Let's attack this from a different way of looking at it. Right.
I mean, one session of just help, and it was like I was able to switch the mindset. I knew I was going to be okay after that.
Wow. That's incredible.
It was like, okay, no, I got this.
Wow.
And so, but I keep going, because every time I go, now it's just kind of creating the habits with the journaling and the meditation, and just making it good, healthy habits. Because not every day is going to be easy. We're constantly, practicing, we're living it, but we're going to have, I'm going to have moments of struggle. But if I can go back to those tools and that belief and that I'm going to be good.
It's so true.
I'm excited. I'm actually genuinely excited now, which is
that's
weird.
So good. I'm sure it's a relief for your husband
too. I'm excited about
the
move. I'm excited with everything that's been happening and everything that's where I'm going, how I feel.
That transformation.
Not even about a job. I have no clue what I'm going to do. It's not about that. It's just like this, just this internal, I feel better than I have ever felt.
That's incredible. Imagine the peace that now has the opportunity to exude into your children, because it's a huge change for them too. They're leaving what they've always known, and if you were spiraling and confused and crying and all of the emotions, and you're allowed to cry and have all of those emotions still too, but at the exact same time to know that all of those emotions are rooted in peace because of the comprehension that you're gonna be okay. It's so important for them to have that. And I'm learning that more and more as I experience even just toddlers who know what's happening without their comprehension of language. Right. They see all the signs. They get it. And it then, pours into them, and you can see little bits of anxiety or disarray, and you're like, what's going on? Why are you acting like that? Right. Yet at 2 hours before, you were emotional wreck. Right. So it's having tiny humans is interesting, like following everything.
Really interesting. Mine are now going into 7th grade and going into 4th grade, so at that age. So we talk, like that's been, we talk, we communicate. It's good. And I've been honest with them of being, hey, mom's scared too. Yeah. Mom's not sure, but now they're seeing that other side of like, okay, here's how we do this. Yeah. Here's how we do this.
Yeah. It would be so helpful in the longevity of all of it. Yeah. Having that sense of knowledge that it's okay. It's all going to be okay. And that's from every piece and every angle of anything anybody's going through is just to like find what you should be rooted in, because likely the chaos of whatever it is that you're experiencing could easily you're not going to find a root in the chaos. Right. There isn't.
So, and one of the things that I've recently learned, and it's funny because I feel like I've even said this to other people in focus meetings, but for some reason I wasn't applying it to myself. So focus meetings are when we meet one-on-one with our members at Burn and we talk about nutrition or set goals or whatever it may be. But if you don't take care, if you don't fill that bucket of self-care, which is going to be your nutrition, it's going to be your fitness, whatever that means, even if it's going out and walking, and your sleep. Yeah. So like those are 3 major ones. And then other people might have other areas of some self-care that comes in as well. If you're lacking in that, then when those external stressors come in, the way you handle it is going to be completely different. Your mood is going to be not the same as if you were taking care of sleep. For me was a huge one. I haven't slept in like 2 years. Yeah. I'm like, we're gonna sleep. So there was just things that I felt like I was also like neglecting of myself. And again, for me, it was sleep. So it was like everything that was happening was just, my mood it was just, being magnified. So
what, is there a specific reason not sleeping? Is it just a multitude of things? Have you figured it out?
I had to be up at 4. Yeah. And it just got to a point where 8 o'clock was not a realistic bedtime. So it was just nonstop 5 hours, 6 hours of sleep, or I would wake up at 2 a.m. and I would never go back to sleep.
Yep. Because you're afraid you're going to sleep in,
it was just this. I was sleep deprived.
Yeah, that'll absolutely do it too.
And I tell our members all the time, if you've got to choose between sleep and working out, like I know some of our we've got some night nurses, and we've got people who really just have their schedules are tough. But overall, like we need to sleep. Yeah. Your body needs to sleep.
Well, that's why nurses' schedules are what they are, because they only work sometimes 3 or 4 days a week, because
so they catch it back up.
Yeah, eventually. Maybe not in the midst of it, but eventually. Right. Yeah, it's interesting because I've actually was talking about sleep recently, because obviously when you have newborns and kids, and mine were back to back pretty close, felt like twins sometimes, but probably worse. And that was one other conversation I just had. She was like, actually it's worse having 16 months apart than it is having twins. I'm like, oh, thanks for that reassurance.
Because you're really going through this like
it never stops, or at least the twins, there's 2 of them, sure, it's double the work at the time.
At the same time,
yes. But I went through a season of like nightmares. And not being able to sleep when your mind is racing out of fear. And it could have been about anything. It was about family situations that are occurring. It was about things that were going to happen to me. It was about things that were going to happen to my kids, about things that were going to happen to my husband or within my marriage. And they stemmed from conversations that were happening, life experiences that were unfolding. But it wasn't until it was probably about 7 or 8 months in that I was so sleep deprived. I was almost afraid to go to sleep because I didn't want to have that. And I tried, I really am not a proponent of medicines for the most part. I try to really go into that holistic space, and I'm not an advocate for one or the other because I know it helps certain people. But I did do melatonin. I tried holy basil extract at one point, which is to calm the mind. But my therapist was like, let's try like breaking these nightmares. And I had been going to therapy consistently now at this point for 3 years, but at that point probably 2. And she's like, you never mentioned that. I'm like, what? It's been consistent for so long. She's like, you've never brought it up. I could have helped you so long ago. But there's so much in our life that happen. Yes. And sleep is just like something we kind of take for granted.
I know.
And at the same time, don't do because it's like, oh, it's cool. We can not sleep for the 8 or 7 hours that's recommended and I'll be okay. But it really does affect like nervous system, digestive system, all of the things that our body needs in order to process it, going all the way back to how we started, to be still. Like without that stillness, and while my body was still and I was laying there limp because I was exhausted, my mind was never. Yes. And so I got the practical takeaways, and if you're dealing with nightmares, was around meditation. So funny that we like talked about that. It was really like to exactly go through the nightmare, and you could journal it if you wanted. It was encouraged to write it down, but I was doing it in the shower because that was my only space without the kids. So I'm just like replaying this nightmare in my head, verbatim, and to create a new ending. And so you would do it, and the nightmare would go through, and you would say, okay, what's the best case scenario for this to have to change? Because it's likely that you're going to go to bed and it's still going to be there, but let's come up with a new ending. And so for like about 3 days, I did this meditation practice. It was 20 minutes. I would listen to worship music before. I would meditate on the fear, and then I would listen to worship music after and focus on the difference of ending. And within 3 days, boom.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So
rewrite the ending.
Right. And so we have the power to do that, not just in our subconscious mind, but in our actual life.
Yeah.
And so many people just think, this is the road I'm on.
Yeah.
This is the cards I was dealt.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
It's really sad.
We have the strength, and we have the ability, and we have the access to do it.
Just gotta get the mindset.
Gotta get the mindset.
It's fun. I was watching my son's basketball game this weekend, and there's this team that they have not beat.
Yeah.
I was a basketball player. I coached Finn for years. Cool. And I'm watching this. It is a winnable game.
Yeah.
We can beat them.
Yeah.
They warmed up as though they were already beaten. They came out like they played terrible. Terrible.
Gosh,
and the mindset was that they were going to lose. And they did.
Yeah.
But I'm watching the other team and the skill set of the other team, and these boys could totally compete against each other.
Wow.
But one came out, the team that won comes off the court in warm-ups, like clapping their hands like, let's go. Like they're pumped up, they're fired up, they're united together.
Yeah.
They're ready to go play basketball and win. Our boys like just nosing off, and I'm looking, and I'm like, I'm just watching, and I look at Adam, I'm like, this isn't good.
They're gonna lose.
And they did. And Finn went out and played. I always say heart and hustle.
Yeah.
Heart and hustle.
I love it.
You may not have like your best game, but heart and hustle. So,
yeah.
And he went out. We talked about it after. He goes, Mom, I really did try. I said, I saw you, but
if you don't have the support though.
And he's got to get that. And he's 11. He's gonna be 12 soon. Sure. That's hard. But sometimes you've got to have that advocate who can help lift you up and tell you can do it. And their coach tried. It just wasn't gonna happen. But could Finn have stepped up and started clapping his hands and be like, guys, we got this. That's just somebody to help switch that mindset of their team. But
that's really good.
Got beat.
Yeah.
They didn't have to.
Yeah, they could have. And that's the thing. And we're not going to win it all. We're not going to win them all.
We're not going to win it all. But you learn. Put that best foot forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just like coming to the gym and having you there and having all those other girls there. And I remember it was like maybe 2 or 3 days after Christmas, and I walk in, and one of my girlfriends there, and she's like, hey, how are you? How was your Christmas? And I started bawling. And she was like, and she just, it was almost directly at the same time that we were starting. So you come on, you start talking, and she's like, do I address this situation? Do I just focus on Hayley? Do I work? Like, what do I do? And so she was like, it's okay. Yeah. And so you start and you're like, okay, guys, let's warm up. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm here. And I cried through that whole workout. And she did not know how to handle it. She gave me a hug, texted me a bajillion things afterwards because it's easier to like reflect in that moment and not stir more emotion. Right. But I had a loss, like a really huge magnitude of a loss around a holiday that's supposed to be incredibly special. Yeah. And have so much like joy. and happiness. And I felt like it was completely stripped from me.
Yeah.
And yet here I am in the next space and the next place that I'm supposed to own my happiness. And my entire, that past, the last 3 days, and therefore the time before that and the time before that, were literally like carrying me in such a negative way. And what she provided afterwards, just in the smallest component of advocacy, and you said the word advocate, and it's what triggered the concept of it, was more than I could have gathered at the time.
Yeah.
I didn't have the strength. I was just sitting in the loss.
Yeah.
And it's so important to have advocates like built in around you.
Right.
And even in the places and the spaces, like I went into the gym, I was trying just focus on my body, ready, body.
Yep.
And she went mind, heart, so quick.
It just got there.
It all went out.
Yeah.
And so it's really important, like, and I just encourage people to find those people that are there to like push you forward and just advocate for your happiness.
Right.
Everyone's not going to advocate for you.
No.
We live in a selfish society. I am often selfish.
Right.
We have to find the advocates who are willing to put their selflessness on the table.
And this is something that I'm trying to get better at too. Like I say easy. It's easy when you have 400 women there all the time, but when you're outside of the gym, you've got to allow yourself to connect. We talked about connection. Like you have to allow yourself to connect so that you do have people who are looking out for you and
so true.
And pushing. That was one of the things I was telling my family when it was about, I guess 6 weeks ago. I had to let them in, but that they were my connection right then and there, and I had to just tell them, hey, I'm not okay. So here's what's going on. Here's how I'm feeling, and now they're behind me. Now they're advocating. Now they're and my husband too. He was like, what is wrong with you? Like, it was just it was tough. But you have to be able to connect with people so that. Then you've got those advocates that are helping you. But if you stay closed off and you don't allow yourself to connect, at some point they go away.
Yeah, it's true. Well, because people need authenticity, and that is your third word. Like they need it so bad. We need it so bad. Right. And it's been stripped away in so many different ways from us, from our children. And it's so important for us once you get it. And this is like kind of that, I know that I know.
Yes.
When I knew and now know, like the who of who I am and whose I am able to just authentically walk in the losses and walk in the wins and advocate for others and push others forward and have that community over competition, which Burn is incredibly amazing at. Because there's not that like fear factor of, well, what if I don't succeed?
Right.
What if I'm not loved? What if I don't win? What if like all of these pieces, what if I'm not accepted? People need that point of connection so deeply that without it, they're doing random acts of hate versus random acts of kindness. Yeah. And that's where our community is right now, sitting in the midst of that.
So sad.
It is. Yeah. It's traumatizing. And so that's an example, and now the news, is doing what they do.
Oh yeah.
And it could be so much different, and they need voices, they need advocates. The people in those buildings need connection with people who are gonna pour into them hope and strength. Versus what if this happens again? And it's not to say that it won't. Right. It's just to say that there is hope.
But what are we gonna do right here and now? What's our mindset gonna be going forward? And you can't it's so easy to just spiral into this dark place if you don't have people around you helping to lift you up. I had asked my husband, actually part of the journal entry was like, what if I fail? Like I'm missing this, and this. And what if I fail? I have this opportunity, I'm gonna have this time to do this. What if I fail? And he's just said to me, he said, we won't let you fail. He just and I hadn't shared with him my fear. Had I not shared with him, but he's got my back. My family will have my back.
It reminds me of Brene Brown.
My back.
Thank you, therapy. It's so important. And it's funny. So here we are laughing about that, but it's kind of a joke because of how it's been perceived, what's been shared with us, and what's been told to us about like going to therapy, like you're sick, and it's not that.
It's not.
It's really not.
I guess I really probably should have gone 5 years ago when we first, everything that I'm dealing with and feeling now, it was everything that I felt when we first moved back from Japan to the beach. Yeah. I've been there. Yeah. And it wasn't good. Sure. But I found burn. Mm-hmm. And I've been fulfilled, and I've had this, these amazing connections with these women. Yeah. And then that fear of it going away is where I was like, oh, this is all coming back.
Yeah, I'm alone again.
This is not going to be good if I don't fix this now.
Yeah, and that's what they study for. It's just like a pastor. It's just like, a doctor. We are okay to go see a doctor when we're sick, but we're not okay to go see somebody who's willing to help our mind.
Right.
And like that's way more important, and the longevity of things.
All they're doing is bringing out stuff that ultimately we know.
Yeah. It's so
just true. Helping you. I don't know. I think people probably look at me sometimes. They're like, "What are you talking about therapy?" I'm like, I'm not ashamed of it. I wasn't ashamed to even go in the first. I just didn't know what I needed.
Sure.
Everybody should go to therapy.
I say that all the time. I think it's a prerequisite for being an American adult.
Because it is. Because we all these stressors that walk around. You show me a lot of people who can walk. You find these one or two people that have probably been to therapy.
Yeah, right. They already got the check mark.
I'm assuming that they have, but are just their mindsets where it needs to be. Who are just they truly seem to be living like their best life.
Sure.
Most people are walking around a hot mess.
Oh yeah, no question.
And I'm going to continue, I'm sure, to be walking around a hot mess, but not every day.
Yeah, right. And I was definitely one of them, no questions asked. And yet at the same time, there was this like, and the word perfect, and it drives me bananas, was constantly like declared over top of me since I was little. Like I remember it, and I just, I put myself on a pedestal because I was put on a pedestal, and I just felt like I have to stay right here. Yeah. And so you said it, you walk into the gym and you see the strongest, fittest, skinniest, tallest, leanest, prettiest, does her diet just right, drinking the 4 gallons of water she should drink every day, and you're like, damn, like hold on, yeah, and like I missed it, I failed, I haven't even started and I've already failed. Yeah. But therapy provides a way for you to recognize why that's the first person you see. Right. Why you feel the way you do about that person and about yourself, and then gives you tools to change your mindset. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. I like, I always want to like learn more and study more, and I feel like if you're not learning, you're dying essentially. So like the concepts of therapy are something that really intrigue me. Something I hope to continue to unpack and learn more about, because it's not just helpful for you individually, it's helpful for every person and that you're advocating for, your spouse, your kids, your friends. You said earlier about having an advocate that's like kind of has your back, and those people that connect with you. And Brene Brown's recent Dare to Lead book, she talks about a square squad, and that like whole concept just really, I just loved the wording, the phrasing of it, but more so what it meant to me. And so while it was just words that I heard about, people having each side of you and making sure
kind of everybody in your corner.
So I took it, and instead of it being, and I'm drawing for Hayley, but you guys can't see this, instead of it being in the corner, I did it this way. And so it's the person who is your mentor in front of you. And then you have the people who are beside you, and I did these as like your sisters, the people who are willing to link arms with you and say like, let's go, let's keep moving forward. It's the burn sisters who are like, come on, you can do this last rep. Come on, you can do this last round. And cheering you on. But this person, the person who has your back, likely your spouse, I said it was your person because there's a lot of people who aren't quite to that space yet. It could be a parent, it could be a sister or a sibling, it could be a best friend. For me, and I hope for most marriages, and if that person isn't your spouse, go to therapy because you need them to be that backup, that person who's gonna push you up and propel you into the space that they already see you being and knowing, just like he said, I'm not going to let you fail.
Yeah.
Right?
Which was, I was an immediate like, okay, he's not going to let me fail.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I had to let him in.
Yeah.
Too.
And that's a hard thing because that's vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's authenticity. And that was like, so individual therapy versus couples therapy is, you know, people don't understand, why can't you just have that conversation at home? It's a totally different thing when there's like this mediator who literally just listens. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't think she said more than 10 words, but that was a really good session. She's worth every penny, and maybe gets the really comfortable couch. Maybe it's the tea. I don't know, but I would pay for it, and I will pay for it until I can't pay for it any longer, and I'll pay for it even when I can't. I'll find a way, because it just creates this space of vulnerability that's very safe.
I know, why walk miserable like every day when it's just sometimes it's just as simple as a conversation with somebody who, no judgment, is just going to help give you the tools.
Right. Love you and that's the lack of.
And maybe it is a pastor, like maybe it's not like actually there, maybe you know, but just somebody, just talking to somebody.
Yeah.
But not more so than just venting though, because we need the tools.
100%.
Like we need the tools.
Yeah, because and that's a big concept of friendship too.
Yeah.
Because venting to someone is needed, because you got to get it off your chest.
Right.
But if they're venting and then they're adding to what you're venting, it's just leaving you more stressed when you walk out.
Right.
Because you're like, oh yeah, she just validated my venting.
I should be upset. I should be mad.
Right. So be very careful of the people that are kind of those sisters that in that square squad. In church we call it like the inner circle, like that you have those people that you know are there to advocate for you and are going to give you the advice and tell you the things that you know the other people aren't going to tell you.
Right.
They're going to make you the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
And you have done that in my life in so many ways. So I think it's so cool that there's that like shared experience, whether we voice it, whether we say it, we really haven't even spent any time other than a handful outside of the gym 101.
Yeah.
That you can have that power in so many different places in your life. It doesn't have to be that you come over and sit on my couch.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm really grateful for you. I'm grateful for the time that we've had together. And I know it's not over.
It's not.
That's the cool thing.
It's really not.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you were connected, like I just do feel like we were truly connected in conversations.
Yeah.
And it's always like thought-provoking conversations.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like me think.
Good.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I feel it's just such a good space. I don't know, all of our conversations, I always love them.
Yeah, and it's good because even in the component of like what your niche and what you bring to the table, that connection of that wholeness, like for me, you know, you're teaching me about body all the time. And it's the example that you give. It's the way that you share about the things that you do, whether it's via our Facebook Live groups or things like that, and that mindset shift. But the body is where, for me, it really all started. And it was body shaming. It was what I expected myself to look like, and coming from an athletic home. I remember getting my BMI measured when I was coming home from college.
Oh, wow.
I remember the time that I quit gymnastics full time competitively, and my Nana told me that it looked like I had gained weight. I was 14.
Oh, wow.
And I remember the freshman 15, I was like demanding that I wouldn't get it. So I did the opposite, and I lost 15 pounds my freshman year.
Yeah.
And so there were so many components of my body that from the outside looking in, it was perfect.
We just need to learn how to be comfortable in our own skin, whatever that may be. And if you're not comfortable in it, then how do we get there?
Yeah.
You know, take action. Like let's just be healthy. Yeah. And I always tell the women in the gym to stop eating for weight loss.
Yes.
If you are going to eat for weight loss, you are never going to achieve that level of just health that you deserve. If you eat for health and truly like nourish and fuel your body, things start to happen.
Yeah.
We just try to play all these games and fad diets and gimmicks, and
so true.
We just can't do it.
Yeah.
We just can't do that. We're not going to stick to it.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just, how do you shift that mindset to what food should look like?
Right. It kind of reminds me of and I don't know who it's by. Morgan, you might remember, we have another guest in the room you don't see, but we hear her. The song that says, I'm not going to sing, or maybe I'm going to sing. Like, help me want the healing instead of the healer, or the vice versa.
Yeah.
And so it's talking about, what's the other words that come after that? It says, we pray so much, we want to be healed, but we don't pray for the healer.
Right.
We want to be well, but we're not praying for the one who gives the water of the well. And so shifting that mindset, I want to be skinny. It's not about that. It's about, I want to be well. I want to be whole. Yeah. And so reaching beyond what the initial want is into the deeper piece of really what you need.
Yeah.
And wants are everywhere. I want.
Right.
But what do you need?
What do you need?
And really focusing on that. What does your body need for nourishment? Not what do you want.
Right.
We all want a glass of wine in a Reese's cup.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that's what we need.
Yeah.
It's just what we want.
Yeah.
And I have a obsession with cereal. It's a bad thing. And my husband knows that, like, when he met me, literally I was eating cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it wasn't because I was on a college budget. I just really liked it. And the Special K diet was around at the time. I just really like cereal. And I like whole milk. Yeah. And so I was eating cereal. I would eat other meals too. Sometimes I would have 5 meals a day so that I could have my breakfast, lunch, and dinner of cereal. So recently, and I've been really good about it the last 2 years, not having cereal. And Gary will literally commend me, I'm so proud of you for not going downstairs and getting cereal. I would be pregnant, it'd be 3 a.m. I was starving. I'd go get cereal. So Michelle Lappin, who has been on the podcast recently, she sent me a meme, and I don't even know if she knows that true obsession, but she said, cereal's like a best friend. It's been there for you through it all. It's been there for you during the late nights when you're starving. It's been there for you as the comfort food, all these things. And then I couldn't get cereal off my mind, so I had cereal last night. It was chia almond cereal.
I was gonna say, what kind was it?
It was a chia almond something flaxseed, so it probably sounds
so it wasn't like rainbows and frosting.
It wasn't Lucky Charms.
Okay,
no, it wasn't.
Good.
None of the good, delicious stuff. But it makes you realize that your mind has the power over everything else that you do. It has the power over if you're going to finish that Spartan race, if you're going to finish that marathon, if you're going to finish that swim, and anything physical. If you're going to finish giving childbirth, all of the things. Yeah. And so it also has the ability to put you in a really dark place. Yeah. And so I really love, and it probably will be something along the title, is that being present, being connected, and being authentic. Yeah. And that is such a amazing way to step into this new season for yourself. But also you've already done that in the season you've been in, whether you realized it or not. And so it's not something new.
Right.
It's holding on to what is now rooted.
Right.
Because you know that you know.
Yeah, I know that I know. Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. That's been the cool thing. It doesn't matter where I am. Yeah. I can still be present. Yeah. Be authentic.
It's so good.
And make connections. It's not going to be in the same physical environment.
Sure.
There's a lot of peace in that. Self-love.
Yeah.
Self-worth. Yeah. Feeling worthy. Yeah. And just feeling happy with who you are or who you're becoming.
It's so true. And that is the key to it. Yeah. I think the key of all of it is that none of us are perfect. Nope. None of us have it all figured out. We are all becoming.
Yes.
We are all literally walking into the next best version of ourselves. And what does that look like today is going to be drastically different than what you want from your life, the next best version of who you are a decade from now. Yeah. It's going to be different.
Burn went through this thing they just put out a few months ago, but it was begin, believe, become, be.
Oh my god!
And it was just that's why I love Burn. I'm
yes.
And it just can go into so
Wait,
many
what was
ways.
that? Begin?
It was begin and hopefully I'm saying it right, but
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. This is what I've now
Sure.
said, but it's begin, believe, become, and be.
Wow. I never saw that. That's so
that
good.
point, there was the hats, like there's the bee hats,
Oh, I have
and
that.
then the bee.
Okay.
But the other piece of it was just all that, and it's just that first you have to begin.
Yeah.
You know,
you do.
You got to believe.
Take the step.
You may even have to believe and then begin.
Yeah.
No, I think sometimes you got to begin.
I think you got to begin.
You got to begin.
I do a lot of things.
People who walk through the doors, you know, of the gym.
Yeah.
They're beginning, but they don't really believe until they do.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, my favorite transformations are the mental ones. More so than the physical ones are cool, but that mental shift of people who come in is like the coolest thing.
And it filters over into every other part of their life because they're like, man, I did this. I have the power to do so much more.
Right.
What is it going to be?
Right.
Whether it's in entrepreneurship, whether it's in your mothering, whether it's in your relationships. I mean, you just have so much power at your fingertips.
Yeah.
It's that accessing like it because it's there. It's already there. Just like the therapist.
Yeah.
You already know why you're hurting. You already know why you're broken. But I'm going to teach you how to fix it. You're beginning by sitting on the couch. Yeah. And we're going to believe together so that you can become the best version of yourself and eventually be still in the confidence of who we've become.
So cool.
So good. I'm so grateful to have you here. And I hope people got lots of goodness on this amazing Monday morning. And I hope you'll join me. Kind of close in prayer today for Virginia Beach, for the lives that were lost, for the families that were lost, the families that are now grieving. God, we just thank you so much for this incredibly intentional time, that it is a space and a place that we can just come and be and rest and know that even when the world is spiraling out of control, Lord, that you are good. And that you already have an answer to all of the questions people are asking. That you already knew, even in this pain, that there was going to be resolve. God, that you're allowing hurt in a way that people can't quite comprehend. But it's not because you're making it happen, God, but instead you're there to restore it and allow people to know that they know that you are good, that you are well, that you are alive and at work every second of every day, even in such horrible circumstances. God, I just pray on behalf of our city, on behalf of the leaders, on behalf of the families and the workers that are going back into the city this week, Lord, that they would just have a sense of peace that they can't quite comprehend, that you would just encompass each of their hearts and their minds and their souls in a love, an all-knowing love, that you are present and that you are good. I thank you so much for all of the things that I can't even comprehend that you're doing, because I know that you are good. And I thank you for this time and for the city that's just going to rise together to be strong. That we've always been strong, and that now we have an opportunity to show it and showcase it in such a way that the whole nation can see it, God, and that we're rooted in you, and that is the premise of all of the healing that's coming. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
I'm Tamara Andress. I'm your Fit and Faith host, and I am so excited to just be here to share with you other movers, dreamers, shakers, entrepreneurs, pastors, whatever. If you've got a head and you've got a heart, I'm so excited to explore who that is, whose you are, and discover your wholeness, your health, your wealth, and your joy. I love to exude happiness. I want people to know that this is not, this came with trial. You guys, this came with a lot of effort. This came with a lot of lows and so many highs. And I want us to experience those together. This is a real community of dreamers, and I'm excited to help catapult your calling, your kingdom experience, the purpose of your imprint on the world. wherever, however that is. So come along for the ride. I am excited to chat with you. Like, comment, review, send me a DM, send me an email. It's me responding, even though I have an incredible team. And so I'm just excited to get to know you. Let's connect, let's create community, and let's walk in our calling.